Hi, I'm Sid Dobrin. In this video, we'll look at the Radical Revision project that asks students to revise a television commercial into an academic essay. I designed this assignment to help students understand the differences between the kinds of arguments that advertisers forward and the kinds of arguments considered valid in an academic setting. Had I designed this assignment in reverse, asking students to revise an academic argument into a television commercial, the result would be significantly different in that students would find that they had more supporting information in the academic essay than they had space for or need for in the commercial. This would make the revision fairly simple in that students would just have to whittle down what they already had available. However, by reversing the assignment and asking students to create an academic essay from a commercial, students will discover just how devoid of information and evidence a commercial can be and how much more work goes into developing an academic argument. In this way, then, the objective of the assignment is twofold. First, to have students critically analyze the argument forwarded in a commercial in order to better understand its situational and rhetorical function, and second, to then have to revise that argument into a more thorough academic argument. The intent is to emphasize the difference in argumentative form depending upon rhetorical situation. What this requires, though, is that students select commercials that provide the kinds of arguments that can be expanded and for which they can locate further information. For example, it's less likely that students can conduct research and expand an argument that you should buy a particular kind of ice cream because it is delicious than an argument that a particular brand of painkillers is more effective than others. I find that the assignment works best when I talk with students about their individual commercial selections and help them think through the kinds of research they'll need to conduct in order to flesh out the arguments. For example, a student could actually conduct marketing research to determine whether or not consumers do consider the ice cream delicious, but it is much more manageable for students to conduct research about the effectiveness of over-the-counter painkillers. With this guidance, though, I find that students like the idea of trying to fill in the gaps of arguments that they see circulated in commercials. I do also spend some time talking with students about how I will assess their essays, and I emphasize that I read the essays as academic arguments. I find it useful to share with students the assessment rubric I use so that they have a good idea of what I'm looking for in their essays. I've included a copy of that rubric with the instructor materials for this chapter, and I hope you find it useful in your own grading. Of course, you should feel free to revise it to best suit your pedagogical and programmatic needs. So, those are some of the things to keep in mind when assigning this Radical Revision prompt. I hope you and your students find the assignment stimulating and effective. Thanks for using Writing Situations, and thanks for watching.